Hello, everyone. Jason Hackcomb here, back for another edition of Jason and the Gentleman. Episode 50, Josh. Can you believe it? We've done 50
5-0.
shows. Yeah, the big 5-0. The Rocket Richard episode of Jason and the Gentleman. And, I mean, it's an exciting time. I mean, we're just over Halloween, and I'm sure you had a lovely time trick-or-treating with the kids, Josh, last night. And I know how important Halloween is to you, so... how was your time out last night with the family?
Halloween is very important to me. Probably my second favorite holiday, I guess. I don't even know if it's considered a holiday, but second favorite time of the year, that's for sure. Behind Christmas. It was great, man. Yeah, the kids loved it. My daughter went as supposed to be an avocado, and switched up last minute to Elsa from Frozen, who I've watched that movie probably 75 times now, so I know every song. But yeah, and my stepson was Ghostface from Scream. So yeah, man, it was great. They had a good time. Big haul of candy, which sucks right now because I'm in camp and I can't devour into these like I usually do. So I had like one little Reese cup, and that was it.
You know what you got to do? Because obviously now today, all the candy's 50% off. You guys got to buy a box, and then after your camp and everything, you can just gorge on. And that's right around Christmas time, too. So get the Christmas treats and the Halloween candy. So you combine your two favorites in one right there.
Double whammy, and just see my face get up nice and fat within 2 weeks.
Or diabetes, one or the other.
Or
I mean, one of the two. Yeah. Well, I'm glad you had trick or treating was good, and it was perfect weather for it too. I thought.
Oh, dude, it was great, man. It was like I thought it was gonna be rainy because it usually has been the last few days, but it was like perfect. Yeah, it was nice.
Well, I'm glad you had a good time, and now another Halloween is in the books, and on to Halloween of 2022. But doesn't stop the busy world that is mixed martial arts, Josh, as we had a couple of eventful shows. We had a PFL Championship on Wednesday, a UFC pay-per-view on Saturday morning / afternoon, and then we just go and do it again with another big pay-per-view. And let's take a look at what was I thought a very good main card for the prelims as well were very good. They had their own little moments, but I mean, the one story coming out of it is the main event. Glover Texiera defeats Jan Blachowicz to become the second oldest champion in UFC history at 42 years old. And honestly, that fight just played out how I thought it would. I thought Glover would find a way to get Jan down and either ground and pound him or submits him in the second round. And just what a complete, amazing story for Glover Texiera, a guy that was trained with Chuck Liddell, was the ace for him, had to illegally come into America through the Mexican border, and is now finally rewarded. Fought for a title before and had this long journey back, and now finally is the champion.
Yeah, man, this is like a feel-good story, right? I don't know anybody that's like not happy for this guy. Or it can't be happy for him. He's just been around for so long. Came close to winning it before. Came up short, and at 42. A lot of people will probably write him off like he's, it's just kind of past his time. But man, that I agreed. I thought stylistically he was a bad matchup for Jan. I thought Glover had many more ways to beat Jan than Jan did Glover, and it went kind of how I thought it would. We would get this submission. I thought it'd be a little bit later, maybe third or fourth round. But yeah, he looked fabulous, man. Got the takedown. He took like one pretty decent shot that he ate pretty well. I mean, I think a couple, but one real decent one. But he hit Jan with some good shit too on the feet. And then the takedowns were nice single leg, little chest pressured, and then got the back, and that was it. And you could just tell right when he got the back, it was done.
He's got such a powerful rear naked choke. Like once he sinks the arm under your chin, you tap within seconds. It's very impressive with his power, but I think it just goes to show how important maybe that division is right now to be an older fighter, where he did tag Jan a couple times. And I think a younger guy would maybe rush in, and you risk getting counterpunched, especially with the big power that Blachowicz has. But took his time, didn't rush in, and then just knew he'd get the fight back to the ground because Jan couldn't stuff any of Glover's takedowns. And then he got the victory. And I think Glover's such an interesting character. Like, done everything the right way, went through the long journey, and had this career resurgence. And I think that's just incredible. I mean, I know people are saying, "Oh, this division isn't what it once was," but if you got to live in the now, and I think Glover's a fantastic champion, honestly. I mean, he's got a contender down the line now in Yuri Prohaska, who Glover said he wants to fight probably in March or April, and why not make that fight? And I just thought it was a great story there for Glover. People are even saying he could just retire now, like just end the story in Hollywood fashion.
Yeah, man. I mean, yeah, I do. I don't think the division is what it once was at its pinnacle, but yeah, again, good for him. Better for him than that. It's he made his way to top, but he did it well. It's not saying like he just flukishly got there. He put the work and got the fights and the wins and yeah, man. That's a tough fight for him. The next guy, I've only seen him fight twice, and I've only really got to see him striking. So I haven't got to see his full, wrestling jiu-jitsu game. And anybody on the ground with Glover is in danger. That's for sure. So yeah, it's an interesting matchup, and yeah, good for him, man. I'm pumped for the guy. I don't even know him, but you like seeing guys like that, get what they've strived so hard for.
100% is that what they've strived for, and just the journey from fighting for a title, then you go on a win streak, and then you go on like a win one, lose one, win one, lose one kind of thing, and then all of a sudden you're on this career resurgence. You earn a title shot, and you cash in when you knew this was your last chance, probably more than likely your last chance. You're not getting a title fight again if you lose this one. Just how things work out with your age and everything like that. But I think we're all root for Glover, and Yuri down the line is a guy that I'm excited to see fight Glover. I think it's an interesting stylistic matchup. I mean, you probably give Prohaska the advantage on the feet, a couple months in advance. But as you said, Josh, we've never seen really Yuri on his back or on the ground or anything like that. So that's been Glover's world in this resurgence. So live in the now, everyone at light heavyweight. I think it's a fun little story, its own little Rocky story. And I mean, you can't hate on this champion, and he's one of the more decorated guys who's earned this opportunity and cashed in on it. I think for Blachowicz, because this is where the division is, another win, in his next fight back, he probably gets him back in that rematch situation.
Yeah. And I think that also helps that the division is a little bit shallower, right? So another big win does get him close to it anyway. Yeah, man, and it goes to show the longevity in the sport, and any, I guess, athletic sport, you're seeing guys compete for longer now at a higher level. You know what I mean? So whereas before it was like you were like early 30s, you were ancient. Now you're seeing guys in their mid 40s competing still. So yeah, it's just going to show that the longevity is better, and guys are probably training smarter, and science is helping for sure. So it's pretty cool.
The last thing on this, I don't know if you saw the clip of Chuck Liddell watching at home, like freaking out, being so excited for Glover, and I thought that was just a real cool moment because Glover was a longtime training partner, and when Chuck was the man at light heavyweight back in the mid 2000s, it was Glover, one of his top sparring partners, and it's always just good to see guys go through the sport in time and still be kind of close like that. Like so many times, just BS breaks up friendship or whatever, but these guys are still true friends and support each other in that. So I thought that was a really cool moment.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. So this was I just because you said the time that this card started, it was a weird start time, and I was sparring and training throughout the day. So by the time I got home, I raced home, and I seen them putting the belt on Jan.
Oh wow!
So yeah, I got to see this fight, which was great, but I didn't get to see anything else. And as far as the Bantamweight title fight, the one I want to see the most, I heard it was a good one.
Yeah, as we transition to that, it was a real good fight. I thought Jan won 4 out of the 5 rounds. I thought Sandhagen won the first round, did very good job of using his angles and just counterpunching and being the smarter fighter. But it's just Jan just puts it on. Like he just picked up momentum as the fight progressed, especially in the championship rounds. I think it was the fourth round maybe where he landed a spinning back fist that dropped Sandhagen, where he went for it earlier and he kind of just clipped him, but he dropped him with the spinning back fist. And Corey was tough, but I think maybe just the short notice factor, maybe you played a little bit of a part of that, and plus flying, halfway across the world to Abu Dhabi for this fight. But I think one, Petr Yan is still one of the most fun bantamweights to watch out there, and two, now he's the interim champion. It gets treated like a champion. They did announce him as like the bantamweight champion, even though he is the interim champion. And now it looks like obviously next he's got to fight that rematch with Aljamain Sterling to unify the titles, which I think that one will do really good business, especially kind of the animosity those two have against each other.
Yeah, I think so too. Jan, look at all of Jan's fights, or most of them anyway. He starts somewhat slow, and I think he's just trying to get a gauge on his opponent and a read on him, because you watch his fight with Aldo. Aldo was doing well early in that fight, early in the first round anyway, and you watch his fight with Aljo, same thing. Earlier fight Aljo had better moments, and then as the fight went on, Jan just kind of ramps it up, and I think he just kind of feels like, okay, I've taken these shots, and I'm running through everything now, and you just can see him kind of just like change gears. And yeah, that's kind of the way his style is. And yeah, I'm gonna go look back and watch it, because I like seeing both the guys fight, Sandhagen too. So I heard it was a good one too, like you said. And I picked Jan to win. I picked by decision too. I actually got this one right. Usually I don't, but yeah, I just thought his just his toughness, his presence coming forward would just be a little bit too much for Sandhagen in the long run.
I think it's just an attribute. Obviously, Jan's just such an exciting guy, fights the best of the world, and he technically would be still the champion, no interim if he didn't, get misguided and not know what the rule was at that point in time where he landed that illegal knee on Aljamain Sterling, where he lost the title as a result of disqualification. But I mean, Jan's just unbelievable. Sandhagen's unbelievable, and you just look at the depth of bantamweight, not only in the UFC but across the sport. Like, this is now, to me, the division of mixed martial arts. Lightweight in the UFC still really stacked, especially at that top tier, and there's some good lightweights around mixed martial arts. But to me, 135, every promotion you look at, this division is just deep and just keeps getting better. And I think bantamweight this year really just made the claim as we are the top division in MMA.
I biasly agree.
I figured you would.
I think so, man. I just everywhere I look, man, there's just killers after killers. Yeah, you look at the top 20 in the UFC, look at the top 15 in the Bellator. Look over in one and Risen. There's so many good little guys, man. And yeah, I don't know. It's just been like this insurgence of 35ers that have just been rocking it, and it's a fun division, man.
Now with Petr Yan getting this win here, Josh, what is the interest level you have on the title unification fight for Yan versus Sterling? Because obviously this is the fight you have to make. Yeah. I know there's TJ Dillashaw sitting in there, but as Aljamain Sterling said, F him. He needs to wait a little bit, considering the fight you have to make now is the unification fight. Like, no one can really jump the line in. And you don't want to see someone defend an interim belt, even though it is Yan. He's of a stature, but still, you have to make that fight next with Yan Sterling 2. And what's your interest level, honestly, after the first fight, which looked like it was just really going Jan's way?
I'm interested. It's not like I'm not chomping at the bit for I don't want to a fight like that, but I'm definitely interested. I want to see what happens. The first fight, like I said, Aljamain had moments earlier that did okay with, you could just tell he was really pressing the wrestling, grappling, and then Yan just was so calm and they're cool, and just waited, and as the time ticked on, it was just almost like he was toying with him. You know what I mean? Especially right before the knee, it was like this guy's just kind of playing with his food, and then that unfortunate thing happened. So We'll see what adjustments Aljo makes from this. Being in there and felt him, you know what I mean, and kind of being physically dominated later in the fight. See what adjustments he makes there. And Jan, I mean, it's a winning recipe what he was doing, right? So I just don't throw an illegal shot. That's all. So I'm intrigued by it. I'm excited for it. It's not like fight of the year one of you know, ones I'm looking forward to. But yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to seeing it.
I think my interest level is way more than before. Like, I was excited for the first fight because I was happy to see Aljo actually get a chance for a title like this, and I thought his wrestling would be a little bit of a different element for Jan to factor in. But as you said, in the fight, obviously Jan kind of was taking over. But now with the rematch, time off, a healthy Aljamain Sterling coming off this neck surgery, and a guy that admitted he did a terrible mistake of like didn't eat food and then ate pancakes before the fight, so he just made him just tired as the fight went on. So he can learn from not doing that, which I'm shocked he did that. And you know,
bullshit on that one.
but there's also now like this bitterness between the two, and I think obviously controversy creates cash. I mean, Jan at his open workout was kind of mocking throwing the illegal knee to one of his training partners. So I think anything like that, and I think those two can really sizzle it up with how much they actually don't like each other. Jan, thinks Sterling ran away from him, and I think Sterling really wants to Sterling for his legacy, I feel like needs to not only go in there and have a great performance, if he wins for sure, but he just needs to have a great performance to get some fans back, because like half the people feel he shouldn't even be the champion, even though, I'm sorry, that's the rule. Don't throw an illegal knee, but he just needs to change the narrative of what his career is right now.
Yeah, or just run with it and be the heel, man. Just be the.
I think Jan's got to be the heel in some aspects, but I don't think he's the kind of guy, Sterling, that's just going to buy into being the heel. I think feels
it's the babyface heel switch, But yeah, I think it was that at the beginning. I think you had Aljo as the babyface, Jan was the more heel character, does the illegal thing, but somehow not planned, but somehow now is the baby face, and Aljo is the heel because he has the belt. And I think maybe now this is the tough part. We talked about this before. Like, how do you act now? You won the belt, but you didn't really win it as far as you winning it. Your opponent pulled an illegal move, which disqualified him. Do you act like the champion? Do you act like, you deserve this? It's a tough pill. You know what I mean? I don't know. So I think that's why there's a switch there. And Aljo, he can either try to win all these fans back and be the nice guy and whatnot, which is cool, or he can just say fuck it and just be like, you know what, I'm the heel now, and just kind of do that way. But we'll see what he does. I think he'll do, the first one, but we'll see.
I think he'll do the first one too. I just think he still feels he's in the right in a lot of ways. I think the biggest disdain he is, but I think the biggest disdain people have is he got really hurt, and then how he won the belt. Obviously, it sucked, but it's real. But him celebrating like he had a finish or anything like that, I think that just rubbed everyone the wrong way. And I think that's why he needs to have the important fight to try to win those fans back and, go out on your shield, do whatever you need to do. But, he's got to just do something to try to switch the narrative here, because I like Aljo. I think he's a great guy. I feel bad for him. I think half the heat on him from the mixed martial arts fan base is silly, but this is the fight.
Most people are just idiots that have no idea. He also was celebrating the fact that now he's the champion, and with that comes more money, more opportunity. He won the fight, so he got double the purse. Yeah, he's got pay-per-view points. You know what I mean? Like, so there's all these things that he's celebrating because the shit just, made him a lot more money in life, right? So.
And plus, like, once again, I'll say this again. Jan threw an illegal knee. You shouldn't have thrown an illegal knee. That's the rule. That's how it's written in the sport. I know you don't like it. Sorry, that is. Until they change it, that's how it is. And he's celebrating still a lot of time where he's worked his ass off to get to that opportunity, and he came through, not in the way he envisioned him coming through, but he still came through and got the strap that he planned to get that night back in March.
For sure, yeah. The end result came through, not the journey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Once again, Bantamweight's still amazing, and I'm really excited to see the Jan Sterling fight too. Whenever the UFC makes it, probably once again early first quarter of 2022. Now, unfortunately for you, Josh, you didn't get to see all of this, but there was obviously Islam Makhachev, Khabib 2.0 looked amazing as expected. Dan Hooker, God bless him, stepping in on short notice yet again, filling in for Rafael Dos Anjos, and it was just a little too much. Just the pressure from Makhachev was able to just get the fight down, look for the arm, and got a nasty Kimura leg over the head of Hooker and got the first round submission. And really, I think it just seems inevitable that Makhachev is next in line for whoever wins between Poirier and Charles Oliveira in December.
Yeah, probably. Who else would there be? I don't really know right now. So yeah, probably. I don't know. Is there somebody else that's?
I just don't see it. Just one of those fights where it just feels inevitable. Like there's no one else you could really.
Or I guess maybe the winner, Gaethje.
Yeah, Gaethje Chandler in there for sure. But I just feel like we kind of went through Gaethje. Chandler's just coming off a title fight. Would maybe need another fight after that. And Gaethje hasn't fought since he fought Khabib, so I don't think they're gonna.
When is that one? The Poirier one? When is it?
December 11th. It's the final pay-per-view of 2021.
Yeah, I was gonna say maybe like Islam fight the winner of Gaethje Chandler, and then that winner fight the winner of that. But I thought it was a little bit further away. I didn't realize it was that close. So yeah, I don't know, man. That's a tough call. Probably though. I mean, who else?
I just think Islam's English has gotten so much better, so he's calling his shot out there now, and he just really feels kind of like the trajectory Khabib was on, where Khabib would beat some guys, maul you, but then he'd get in, the upper of the competition, and he'd maybe have a little moment here or there where that guy would take it to him, like the Michael Johnson fight with Khabib, or the Trujillo fight, I believe it was. But then now we're at the point here where Makhachev, it just feels inevitable. He has to fight for the title next, and he probably just continues the legacy of Khabib, which that camp always envisioned Islam Makhachev would do.
Right. Gleason Tebow was the fight.
Gleason Tebow, yes.
That's right. I remember that. Yeah. Yeah, but I agree. Yeah. I think he's the next the next Khabib, following literally exactly in his footsteps. And like you said, you're fighting these everybody in the UFC's top level, right? So 100%. If you have even somewhat of an off night, and that may have been the case for Khabib against Tebow, maybe, or it was just stylistically didn't really match up very well for Khabib. So, and he won the split, which could have went either other way if you watch that fight. So yeah, I don't know, man. I would imagine so. And especially with the backing of the Khabib, you know what I mean? It's not like he's just someone unknown that came out of nowhere. He's got that Khabib backing. He's like his little brother type, situation where he's bringing up. So I could see that being really pushed too.
Well, as well, you have, as you said, you have Khabib obviously in his corner. And if Dana can't get Khabib to fight again, you can get Khabib 2.0, the closest thing where he can kind of just continue the legacy, someone that still wants to fight and be active, where Khabib, obviously, I know Dana thought earlier this year he could get him to come back for all the money in the world, but Khabib seems totally chill, just coaching, and very successful coach. I think his guys went 3-0 on 267, and I think Khabib honestly is in the running there for a coach of the year candidate.
Yeah, I mean, I have no idea as far as like how he coaches, but he seems to be, pushing all the guys in the right spots. That's for sure. Doing very well. So that's awesome, man. And yeah, maybe he's, had 29 pro fights plus however many fights, that aren't marked as, amateur or whatever. And Sambo Matt, these guys have been training his whole life, right? Yeah. So that's
wrestling bears. Wrestling bears.
Yeah, since you're what, like 5 or whatever he was. So think of that, like how many miles are on his body, and mind. Just, that's a lot, man. So I can understand, and especially if he did all that, he won the titles, ended the Conor feud, you know what I mean? Made a shit ton of money. And I'm sure he's making a shit ton of money like in Russia as well. So I don't think it's
Plus, he has his own promotion out there now too. So
Yes, he's got his own promotion. He's got his own affiliation with gyms. I don't know if he owns them outright or if he's just part of them out there. So like, yeah, the guy's doing well, man. And if he's been there and done that, and his mom doesn't want him to fight anymore, then say okay.
the other story of this pay-per-view on the main card was the return of Khamzat Chimaev, obviously the most talked about guy in 2020, where he steamrolled opponents, and I wasn't sure how he would fight coming back after a very serious bout of COVID. Had to have like a tracheotomy because the COVID was so bad. Retired at one point, then rescinded the retirement. Now he's back, and the hype train's still real, Josh. He just mauled the Li Jingliang there. Was able to take Jingliang's back, talk trash to Dana White about like, hey, I want these fights. I want that with Jingliang up in the air, and then just maul him and get a first-round finish out of it. I don't think there's anything else to say, but this guy is one of the most impressive guys to ever come down the pike in the UFC. And I can just feel the UFC hype train on him just gaining more steam. And this is a guy you also feel after this Saturday, it maybe fights for the title next, because he's just at that point and that much marketing around him.
Was it 170 or 185?
It was 170, yeah.
170. Yeah, man. I didn't get to see it. I just seen like the little write-up on it. To be able to do that, like, just that's such confidence in yourself, and your skill sets to be able to do that, and especially it was no bum that he fought either. You know what I mean?
No.
The guy's good. So yeah, I mean at 170 right now, you got Usman, Covington. Who's the other guys in the upper echelon there? Wonder Boy.
There's Wonder Boy.
Gilbert Burns.
Obviously, yeah, Gilbert Burns. I mean, there's Leon Edwards up there as well.
Yeah.
I mean, Masvidal maybe needs that win over Edwards, but he's still a name in the division, I guess, right now. So, I mean, you have some guys, but I can just see.
I would like to see a Gilbert Burns.
I like Gilbert Burns or Leon Edwards is who I'd like to see before Chimaev, but there's also Nate Diaz too, because Nate I think has one fight left on his contract, and UFC could just be like, you want to go make money with other people?
Yeah, I don't know about that one.
I agree. It doesn't make any sense. It would just be one-way traffic with
I think so.
Chimaev's grappling, but yeah. I could see them being like that if Nate wanted to leave or anything like that.
Yeah.
But I mean, they tried to make the Leon Edwards fight before, but that was when the serious bout of COVID happened for Chimaev. Right. So maybe if Leon gets by Jorge in December, you go first or second quarter of 2022 with that fight, and then Usman has to fight, or whoever the champion is fights Chimaev. Because I think if you're Usman after this weekend and you get by Colby Covington, he does deserve like at least from January to March off. Like, he was a very active champion this year, and I could see him just kind of wait and seeing the playing fields of who's next. And Chimaev feels like they're on that collision, but I also feel like UFC could give Chimaev just one more fight as he's kind of up in the top tier of that ranking and, breaking through and being one of the faces of this company.
Right. Yeah, I agree. I totally agree. And especially a guy. Does he speak English at all or no?
He does. He spoke a little bit of English there. It's not much. It's pretty much like I want to eat him, or I'm not only hungry but I'm thirsty, and smish, always like that. But I mean, he did speak English and anything like that. So the more his English evolves, obviously, the better for the North American audience. But
yeah, for sure. Yeah, man. I mean, if he doesn't get a title shot next, which I don't think he will, but I think he'll get a top contender, and a win over somebody like one of the previous we mentioned. I think will definitely get him that. So, which I think would be probably, I would say by the summer next year.
Yeah, and Dana at the post-fight press conference said as Chimaev wins more fights, it'll actually be easier for them to get him fights because he's kind of going up in their ranking system and those top-tier guys want to fight him. Though there is a guy that does want to fight him. That's Neil Magny. He's just been begging for that fight. Oh, and Magny doesn't have an opponent, and I know Chimaev really didn't take any damage. I mean, it'd be a miracle if they could maybe make that for the next coming weeks or so, where Magny is slated to fight. But
When's that one?
Magny did, I believe he did lose his opponent,
Probably
which
not
is
December.
in a few weeks or so. So Magny, they didn't even have that there. I know he's looking for an opponent, but I know he keeps calling out Chimaev, and the UFC just won't give it to him. And maybe it's just where there are different spots in the rankings and the division, and that's how they operate. But I'd like to see that personally.
Right? I mean, Magny's not like the top echelon, but he's definitely very good. It's a tough test for sure. Yeah, I mean, I'd watch that one.
Magny, I think, is tied for or has the most wins now at welterweight in the history of the UFC. Like, I think he passed GSP with his last victory in the division. So I mean, that's a very durable guy, and who at one point was close to title contention, and still, like, while his career's kind of going a up and down slope, a talented guy and someone that isn't afraid to back down from Chimaev, where there's a lot of these other welterweights that are, where that's what you want. You want someone that's going to be active and fight. And it's kind of rare that the UFC denies someone that calls for a fight like that against someone who no one wants to fight when he wants to fight him, that they don't make it. But I mean, that is the world we live in right now.
And sometimes things just don't align how they want. They have scheduling things, they have budgets, right? So things like that. But yeah, that's a fight that I would see. I would watch for sure. Yeah, it's a good test.
There's also a Michael Chiesa down the line too. That could maybe be there. So there are options. It's just depending which player 2 is to the player 1 of Khamzat Chimaev. But all in all, very impressive performance.
Who was it that just beat Chiesa?
That was the last guy that beat Chiesa was the guy that they're now trying to get to, or that Diaz wants to fight, in Vicente Luque.
Luque, that's who it was. Yeah. There's another one. You know what I mean? I like Luque, man. I think that guy's good.
I love Luque. I think Luque,
when he subbed Chiesa, which was did not see that one coming.
Especially for how hurt it looked like Luque was, and he was going to get submitted before he turned the tide there on Chiesa. But I don't know. I mean, it seems like Nate Diaz wanted that Luque fight. Luque obviously wants the fight because it'd be the biggest payday, and then they're just kind of at a stalemate as the UFC. Maybe they don't want that fight or anything like that. But yeah, as you said, Luque is another guy. That's another guy that's just fearless and has grown leaps and bounds the past year.
Paid, like for payday wise, I mean, these guys are all contracted already, right? So they're not, unless there's like something with pay-per-views where they have that, but like they're getting only what they're signed already to get.
I think that's what they are hoping to get, some sort of pay-per-view points or anything like that, but that just belongs pretty much to champions, I believe, right now in the UFC.
That's why like so many people are like, oh, he needs to fight him and just be a huge payday. Like, no, he's already got, like, it's already, unless doesn't have a contract signed, like he already knows what he's going to be getting, right? So that is why people kind of tend to pick and choose who they want, right? Because they're getting paid the same.
Yeah.
For the most cases, right? So that, yeah, I think that's where a lot of people don't, on the uneducated fans don't really realize that it's not just like, oh, I get to pick him to fight and I can say any amount of money. That's not how it works.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, obviously, because it's not a structure where it's like one guy or anything, or the boxing structure or anything like that, where things can turn. And my last thing on this show, Josh, and I know you haven't seen it, but
the ref.
Oh God, this was the referee's name, whose name needs to be mentioned. It was Vyacheslav Kiselev, who I guess was an MMA fighter back in the late 90s, early 2000s, 0-4 record.
Oh, shit.
This was some of the worst officiating I've ever seen on the prelims of this show, in the Martin Saint Denis versus the Zaleski dos Santos fight.
Was it just like letting a guy take beatings too long?
100%. That's literally what it was. Like, the first round was close. Like, whoever it could have been a toss up in the first round. I gave it to Dos Santos, but second round, Dos Santos hurts Saint Denis like bad, and he's up against the fence. He's bleeding. Like, the fight could have been stopped twice in the amount of time. And it's not like in football or hockey where you miss a play because you're far away from the ref is like 5 feet away from this, and he's just watching someone take punishment. And this is everything that MMA is trying to get away from in terms of the perception of the sport. It's just that it's barbaric, right? And this is a referee that was so bad he had to get removed for how bad his performances was. So, one, kudos on the UFC for that, and two, we need better training for some of these referees. I mean, I know there's a Herb Dean and Mark Goddard or whatever, but I know for a fact I could have done a better job reffing that fight.
Yeah,
and I think also I know you guys, you're the fighter here, and you'll probably disagree with me, but I thought his corner could have maybe stopped it because he took so much damage in that second round. I know he wants to be a heart of the warrior, and I respect that, but you could tell it wasn't going to be his night. He would have to knock him out, and maybe there was a chance that would happen. But I thought the corner could have also stopped it as well.
I don't disagree with that, with corner stoppages at all. As a fighter, yes, I like to go out and I'm either I'm going out, you know what I mean, type thing. But as a coach myself, if I see my fighter taking crazy amount of damage, or I know he has literally no chance of winning this, and it's just going to affect him long term now, then yeah, I would throw in the towel for sure. And I wouldn't like my corner at the moment. If they did that for me, I'd probably be pissed for like a few hours, maybe that night, but I would probably be all right with it after that. After I have my little sulky moment, I would probably be, thankful for it. Right. So, I'm all for letting the fight go as long as you can go, because I see guys get hurt, and you see a lot of early stoppages, right? And it sucks. It's like we talk about, it fucks with their pay, everything. You know what I mean? But at the same time, you can't go the other extreme where it's like you're letting this guy, you're taking years off his life, really.
Yeah, that's always been my mentality. Is I know an early stoppage it sucks, but I'd rather a ref stop it earlier, and that fighter can maybe have another 2 years of his career than someone take that much damage, not have the corner stop it, or a referee just let you take that much punishment, where this sport's brutal enough where you don't need anything like that. And
the scary thing is we don't really know that yet, right? Like, we don't know, like you said, give them another 2 years. A lot of guys are retiring before they're having any symptoms or like that, right? Of that, they're just retiring because, many different reasons. They're just kind of too slow. They're not enjoying anymore. They don't make enough money, less opportunity, whatever the case may be. We still don't really know the long-term effects of this shit, really, which is kind of scary, especially as a fighter. But we'll see, in the next, I don't know, 10, 20, 30 years of how detrimental it is to us. Hopefully it's not nearly as bad. Hopefully it's not as bad as boxing and football, because those seem to be the top two right now. I think I heard soccer is actually pretty bad too.
Soccer is a surprising amount with concussions.
Right? Yeah, yeah. So we don't know yet. But yeah, a referee like that does not help the cause.
Oh, the referee was outrageous. I'm sorry, but you need for sure a new course, or learn how to ref. You can't just let people be treated like a punching bags. And it's even when the Zaleski dos Santos, he made a comment. He's like, that guy's going to get people hurt. Yeah. And I mean, we saw it last year with Dan Hardy yelling at Herb Dean for not stopping a fight soon enough. And that led to just, backlash from the UFC towards Dan Hardy, because you can't yell at a referee. Well, you got to be – the referee's job is assigned by the commission, or in this case, the self-governing UFC one, as they're in Abu Dhabi. But that guy's job is to protect you and the other fighter from themselves in some way, right? And he's not doing that. He's just letting someone take unnecessary punishment, standing right there watching, to the death.
I mean, in one of my fights, when I fought Arnett, Linden got kicked out of the cage side. You know what I mean? It was pretty crazy to see the opposite team's corner be kicked out for it, because it was just it could have been stopped a few times, you know what I mean? And so, you
went back to punch him. You're like, I guess I'll punch him because you haven't stopped the fight.
I'm not, exactly. I'm not going to stop unless you tell me to. And I mean, unless it's dead on the ground. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's clear, but yeah, that's where I mean, I don't envy a referee's position at all. I never want to be one because you never get praised really, and you only get shit on, and it's tough to make split decision calls. But in instances like this, from what everything I've read and heard, it's like it's pretty obvious, man.
Yeah, I understand. Obviously, being a ref is it's a very thankless job because it's very rare you get positive compliments for being a good official.
Yeah.
It's normally like, I can't believe you did that or made that stoppage or whatever. But to be that blind to the violence that's occurring in the cage and then have the nerve to take a point away from Zaleski dos Santos for one accidental low blow, like I don't know where on earth this referee learned to become a referee, but we never need to see anything like that. Was a complete joke, and it's something if this sport needs to get sanctioned, which it does in some countries, like it just got through France, but I know apparently it's still illegal in Norway, and you showed them that fight, like no country's going to let MMA be around. Right. You can't take it serious, and it's just a detriment to the sport, and I thought that was one of the more glaring things to me. I've never been more outraged seeing an official just lack of negligence of doing his job.
Well, that's shitty to see, and I mean, we're seeing less and less of them as the years go on, right? I mean, now we just need to switch that with the judging.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, we want good ones across the board, but sometimes it just shitty ones pop up, especially when you're at weird places that don't have a lot of fights. Although they do out there, but yeah, it's shitty shit. Shitty people happen sometimes.
I think it just made us appreciate like the Jason Herzogs, the Herb Deans, the Mark Goddards of the world, where maybe they could stop a fight 5 seconds later than they do, but they'd never let anything like that happen. And I know Mark Goddard was there kind of supervising the officials for this show. I honestly have heard that he almost like wanted to get in there and just pull the referee by his neck out of there, and he would have stopped the fight because he doesn't want to see anyone take any of that damage. But yeah, that was UFC 267. I thought was a really fun show, and I was kind of down with the early start time. I know obviously you were busy, but I mean, pay-per-view to be done around 5:00. That's kind of a win for everyone in every time zone, really, I guess.
Yeah, it's still, I don't know. I like the 4 and 7 p.m. You know what I mean? Like the 4 prelim, 7 main card. I think that's like the best one for me. But
well, you'll definitely get it in this weekend with the 7 p.m. prelims, or like the 6 p.m. early prelims, 7 p.m. prelims, and then the pay-per-view at 10. So
yeah, no, that's too late though. You know what I mean? And then you're up till like sometimes 1:30 in the morning. However long it goes. So I mean, I'm whatever. I'm not complaining, but
beggars can't be choosers, Josh.
Exactly. If I had my pick, I would say West Coast time.
Oh yeah,
main card.
West Coast, as we say here, always undefeated time zone. They get the best of everything. But as we transition, I mean, there was the PFL on Wednesday. Right. It may still be going on at this rate for how long?
Oh my God! Like you're right. Like I sat down and I tried to watch this from its entirety, and I love what they do. Like the show itself is great. The fights, and like the whole the premise of how they do it is awesome. But yeah, you're right. It's just the sketch, man. This could have been done half the time.
The show started at 4:30 p.m. and did not end until 12:30 a.m. Thursday morning. That is embarrassing. I'm sorry, but I understand you want to have 6 championship fights with some undercard fights or anything like that. But if you're gonna do a show that long, first of all, don't. You're just gonna burn your audience out. You're gonna turn people away from watching your product, where you don't want to do that because you're trying to get people invested in them. But why not make it 2 nights? You have 6 championship fights. Make it 3 on like a Wednesday and 3 on a Thursday.
Yeah.
It'd be so much better. Like WWE just is going through this with their WrestleManias. Like, hey, 7-hour shows, never a good thing for people. They kind of just die in the middle of it. Let's make it 2 nights. Why don't you just do that going forward, PFL?
Very smart. Yeah, it's true. Or even at worst, 2 weeks back to back.
Something. It's something where you break it up because
Yeah.
I was like, man, we could be in for a long night. I know their pacing's going to suck because that's just how they are. That may be an ESPN Plus thing, but you have the potential of 6 fights going 25 minutes.
That's right.
That's a long night right there, and they pretty much all went that way except a few championship fights.
Yeah, man. It was. Yeah, it did not need to be like that. They just, they could have, well, boom, one fight's done. Okay, tee up the next one, kind of give a quick thing about it, and then on to it. Like they just drag it out so long.
Oh, it was ungodly. Like I knew we were in for a long night, but come on, at least we're done with them for another year. I thought the show was good. I thought the title fights.
What I mean. The fights in the show itself and everything about it, I love. It just fuck, man, it doesn't have to be that long at all.
We don't need 10 minutes on the PFL Smart Cage. We don't need that. I know it's a cool cage. I feel like they also overstat everything. This kick was 5 miles per hour. I don't think anyone's really into it.
I don't really give a shit about that. I really don't. I mean, cool
and the math equation or whatever they do to let's see who won this fight. It never works out. It's always somehow the guy that clearly lost the fight won, according to this FPR thing they're using. So they need to throw that algorithm in the trash and just rebuild it or just get rid of it altogether.
I applaud them for trying new shit and trying to bring new shit to the table. You just don't want another, if they're trying to compete with UFC, they don't want to just be another UFC brand or, a knockoff. They want their own thing. So they're trying their own thing. And a lot of it I do really love. Some of it I could do away with, but yeah, you're right. The shit like that.
I think they're just different enough in the format of how they run a year, right? They're giving out $1 million per weight class. You got to get enough points to get into this playoff scenario. That's enough. I don't need all this stats and overstated. There's too much data put in sports as a whole, and this sport as a whole. The only sport data or math you need to put is 10-9 or 10-8 at the end of each round. That's really all you need. You don't need to overcomplicate MMA. I understand what you're trying to do, be different, but there's baseball. You don't want to be baseball where they're like, oh, look at his WAR or his ERA. We don't need that in MMA or anything like that. But quickly on this, Josh, as we said, the fights were good. Kayla Harrison dominates as we kind of expected. Another $1 million for her. Free agent. We talked about this last week. There's a couple options, and there's always the option to come back to the PFL and beat up some of these girls like Julia Budd, who made her debut for the promotion on the prelims.
Right. Yeah. And we've talked about this before. I think she has two options: sign again with PFL, make another $1 million, or sign with Bellator and fight Cyborg.
Yeah, exactly. And then, it turns out they got another option there with a guy that could be their male face of the promotion. That's Ray Cooper III. What a knockout there of Magomed Karamov, where he, got hurt, had his busted open jaw, and just that power knocked him out in the third round to go back-to-back win in 2019 and now 2021. And he's a free agent. Ray Sefo says he isn't, but I think I'll take the fighter's word for it over the promoters. And I think the PFL, they've got to sign him because he's just such a guy that's a fighting do the talking. He doesn't do any talking other than what his fists can do in the cage.
Yeah, and he's a homegrowner there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
He's not like an ex-UFC or ex-Bellator. He's kind of been – we found out about him through that, right? Yeah. I remember seeing him when he fought Jake Shields, and I was like, who's this guy? So, yeah, I think that guy's – very, very good, and what, even more so, I always knew he had knockout power, but the way he beat up Rory, what I mean? So he's got everything, this guy. So I think he's one of their best stars on the roster, and I think he's amongst the top in the world for sure at that division.
Yeah, he was also kind of talking a little bit about free agency. He's like, I'll go to Bellator, I'll unify the title, I'll go to UFC, fight the UFC champion, whatever it may be. So he's already kind of dipping his toes in the free agency. But as you said, PFL, they need homegrown stars and they need guys that can be the faces there and have storylines going into their next year's welterweight tournament. We know of him. We've known him for a while. Came up short in 2018, won in 2019, and now in 2021. A champion. So, and a guy that just trains out of his garage, no major gym, just trains out of his garage. Yeah. That's amazing. So, loved that. Obviously, Clarissa Shields got handedly beat towards the end of that fight. And, we've talked about this before, but she's still a lot of work in progress, a lot of work on the ground.
See, this
But
is
she knew that, though. But I'm just saying, PFL really just threw her out there way too early.
This is why, like, I didn't really care to see this fight because, like, no disrespect to her, she's trying to do her thing, she's crossing over it, but it shouldn't be on the main card over another guy that's fighting for $1 million, like Zarino or whatever his name was.
The Brazilian that won the lightweight?
Yeah.
Houchman Fio, yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Anyway, yeah, that fight should not be over top of that. You know what I mean? Like, I'm seeing two girls of much, much, much lesser skill sets fighting on a main card just because she's a champ boxer. And she's just not there yet. And that's not her fault. She's trying, but it just shouldn't be where it is. And then, you're a guy like that in that fight, on the undercard when the skill set's very high, and I got to watch this. And it's like, man, that shouldn't be there. My opinion.
I understand what they're trying to do, but I think they should have still, like, if you're going to do anything with Claressa Shields right now, it's just have her out there, do some interviews. She's a very well-spoken woman, but she still needs a full year of training of mixed martial arts, as she can keep it. When she keeps it on the feet, obviously she's comfortable, but as soon as that fight hits the ground, she panicked. Like, that fight hit the ground, and she just looked over at Greg Jackson like, what do I do? Like, she forgot all her training. She just panicked. It was like someone learning to swim and being thrown in. Like, I don't know what to do. Throw me a life preserver.
Yeah, and even on the feet, you're not like that's comfortable like you are in boxing. It's totally different now. You're worried about takedowns where we're getting your kicks caught. You're worried about the little gloves, not being able to block and whatnot because things slip through. So it's so much different. So I applaud her for trying to make the transition, and she should continue. But I just think that fight should not be on the main yet, and she should continue to work her way up. And that other girl was like, she was only like 21 years old or something. I seen.
And crazy. That's not her natural weight class. Like, she's fought at 135, 145. You're going to take the opportunity, right? And if anything, you've at least got yourself to fight in, I guess, lightweight again for the next year. Or PFL has been rumored to add in more women's weight classes. So wherever that may be, there's a spot for Abby Montez there. So she moved to 3-0 and gets a win over a name. And it was kind of funny watching the boxing journalists on social media like, whoa, Claressa Shields lost. I was like, well, you saw her first fight. You should have lost that one. Just kind of got, good adjustment and were able to get a finish. But as we said, she's just a while away from it. But yeah, the tournament fights I thought were solid. Obviously, I thought the heavyweight one was really good back and forth between Bruno Capoloza and Tate Delia. Capoloza wins that one. And unfortunately, he found out, I believe, after the fact that his dad passed away, and they didn't tell him. So it was like the best and worst day on the same day for him. I can't imagine that at all.
Like, you're literally your highest high in your life, and
then they go, by the way,
go backstage and they tell you that. It's like,
yeah,
dude, I don't know how they kept it a secret that long. You know what I mean? Like, because I don't know. I talked to my dad right all the way up until the fight. Maybe it's not as close. I don't know, or he has his own thing. But yeah, I seen that and I was like, holy shit, dude! I couldn't imagine how that guy's feeling. I felt horrible for that. That's brutal.
Like, your biggest moment of your career is now kind of spoiled because you don't get to share it with someone that you really want to share it with, that they're no longer there. And I think you kind of have a little resentment to your team too. Like, why wouldn't you tell me this? I know I'm supposed to focus on this, but family comes over everything.
I would too. Yeah. I'd be like, because I wouldn't give a shit about the money, at that point. It's like, I don't know. Again, we don't know how close they were. Maybe it wasn't as close, and it would have been a distraction. Maybe, I don't know. Who knows? But still, your dad dying though, so that has a big effect on anybody, right? So that sucks, man. That's horrible.
Yeah, and our thoughts are out here to Bruno Capoloza during that time. Mavlid Kabulaev kind of just ran roughshod over Chris Wade, and Chris Wade was upset at himself, but it's that Dagestani wrestling's different from anything, and you can't really stop that. And Wade couldn't, and Kabulaev just kind of ran through and got a huge unanimous decision win, and is really now their guy at 145.
Yeah, exactly. He's another like their homegrowner that's really made a
Yep.
name there, and was he like 18, 19 or 0, something like that?
He is now 19-0.
Yeah. So I mean, and with some big wins, over wins like Wade and Lance Palmer and Bubba. He fought Bubba. What did he fight Bubba? I can't remember.
Wade fought Bubba in the
Wade fought Bubba.
semis.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah.
Um,
Anyways, he's very very good. Anyways, he's
he
one of the
has
top.
I think he had a loss, but I think it was overturned because his opponent was Daniel Pineda, who tested positive for steroids. So then it became
Oh
a no
really?
contest. So,
Oh,
and he has a draw in the PFL as well. So he's never lost, I guess, now officially in the PFL, and didn't lose here. And look, as expected, one of the best guys in the division for the PFL, and ran through it. Shoeface Antonio Carlos Jr.
yeah,
beat Martin Hamlet, a guy that was cut by the UFC this year and turned that negative into a positive and is a millionaire and was one of the best guys in that tournament. And
crazy,
good
right?
for him.
Yeah, yeah. One of the very few ex UFCers that come over, but yeah, he made the most of it, definitely, and changed weight classes too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got that nice rear naked from the back, standing up.
And it was cool how they used the referee cam to see like how the fight ended there. So I mean,
Yeah,
as we've talked bad about PFL production and things, the referee cam has been a hit this year.
I like it. I think it's cool. Why not?
Yeah.
Right? Just kind of extra little. It's like the old Pride style. Remember the Pride days had that?
Yeah, but like how they go to it, like they just get it
Mhm.
perfectly timed in the truck to when to go to it, and it looks so much cleaner than when Pride or
Yeah.
anyone else used it. And then of course we kind of talked on this, but Haushman Fio, he beat Radzabayev in the lightweight championship, which was the first one, and I thought Manfio's story is unbelievable. An alternate in the tournament was going to
Yeah.
quit MMA, and then goes out and has probably the best tournament fight, championship fight here. And one of the guys he beat to get there was Anthony Pettis. Then he beat Clay Collard, who the PFL probably thought they were going to market. And now he's a millionaire. And I think just what a crazy story in that the lightweight championship in PFL sticks in the same camp because Natal and Schultz won it twice, and they're like legit family. So
Oh, really? Wow.
I think that's kind of a cool story that side of Brazil, that gym in Brazil, is the only ones to win 155 million bucks from 155 in the PFL.
Yeah, man, it's a cool story. Yeah, I mean, that guy must have be. It just goes to show how quickly things can change in your life. You know what I mean? If you're thinking about quitting and whatnot, and an alternate, and then all of a sudden now you're the champ and a millionaire, and your life's changed.
And just who you beat too. You beat Pettis and kind of beat him handedly too, and you beat Clay Collard in what was a close fight. But hey, he doesn't score the fights, so it's the judges there. And as we talked about, and I thought that was the best story and was to me the best fight of the championships. And now we wait and see if there's new weight classes added for the PFL. I mean, they're talking.
They don't start till April, May.
Yeah, April, May. They start spring 2022.
Long wait, right?
Long wait, but maybe they're scouting some talent. I know they did a thing where they offered like 2 fighters per whatever weight class, a win and you're in scenario type in for the season. So I wonder if they'll do that again as they scour the globe for more hidden gems. So, and you know what, their deal is up with ESPN Plus, so maybe they're looking for a new avenue for distribution where they can be seen all around the world. So a lot of interesting changes, I think, are coming to the PFL by the time they start next spring.
Yeah, it would be excited to see what they do, what they add, and whatnot.
Lastly, Josh, as we're running short on time here, but there's a pay-per-view this weekend, UFC 268. It's Usman Covington 2 as the main event. Rematch from one of the best fights, I thought, of this Kamaru Usman championship run. Back and forth. Usman for sure has only gotten better, and Colby's coming off just that win back last year over Tyron Woodley where he just mauled Woodley. What are you expecting in this one? I'm expecting another good fight, but I just feel like Usman may get it done a little bit quicker this time.
Yeah, that's possible. Yeah, I don't know, man. That first fight was great. So I could expect maybe Colby to wrestle a bit more, especially early, just to really, really maybe wear on the power in the arms of Usman. It's hard to bet against Usman though right now, man. He's just such on such tear. especially getting his confidence can be at an all-time high. Now, let's just make sure he's not go hunting for the knockout now because he's got that big devastating one over a striker, because that could lead him into trouble a little bit. But I think he's smart enough guy where he can keep it intact. So yeah, I have to pick Usman on this one.
I'm taking Usman too, and I think him training with Trevor Whitman has just made him that much better of a fighter and a smarter fighter. Where, as you said, maybe some guys would kind of be going in for the knockout, but I think for him, the knockout's just going to come just by his ability to just change styles. He can wrestle with you, he can strike with you. Plus, he's got that psychologically thing in his head too, where he finished Colby Covington before in the 5th round in their first fight. Where there's a lot of pressure here on Colby, I think, who hasn't fought in a while. Got this fight because, one, Dana loved the first fight, and two, it is a rematch and it draws a lot of intrigue. But I think for Colby, he needs the win here because I don't really know where he goes after this. He's still a fantastic fighter, but that shtick, that gimmick, it really feels like it's run its course. And I don't know how much more he can market that and make it intriguing, where it's really just got the X-Pac heat now, where a lot of people have the go away type thing with it, where it's just run its course. It's gone too long.
It's gone too long. Yeah, that's possible, man. So, I mean, obviously he needs to win, but I don't know. We'll kind of see what happens afterward.
I think, I mean, obviously I'm not going to discredit Covington, the fighter, amazing fighter, is the only one to, during this title reign for Usman, really make a fight against Usman. Yeah. And I think that also weighs in Colby's head as well. So, and Usman's head. So I'm expecting a fantastic fight, and one that is just going to get more intrigue as this week progresses because these two just don't like each other.
Yeah, 100%. It's real.
Yeah, and then the co-main event rematch for the strawweight championship, Rose Namajunas versus Weili Zhang. I know obviously Rose got the knockout early. I don't expect that the second time. I'm expecting this one to go the distance, the full 25 minutes. It's a toss-up, but I kind of lean Zhang maybe winning it back in a real close competitive fight. I hate Zhang saying, like, I didn't get to showcase what I wanted to do. Well, that's what happens sometimes. You get knocked out in a minute 15. Unfortunately, that is the sport of mixed martial arts, where you can prep, you can plan, but unfortunately you can get knocked out. But I think she'll make some adjustments here against Rose. I think Rose had the biggest confidence she's had, but I think Zhang's going to make some adjustments and find a way to win a decision here.
Yeah, I could see that. I think you're right. I think Weili's going to be much more weary of things, just coming out there and, just getting caught in, like, what was it, like 30 seconds, 40 seconds? I don't know what it was, but
it was like a minute 15. Yeah.
Was it that long? I thought it was clear. Yeah, but I could see this one going much longer. I could see it going all 5 rounds, and I could see it being a pretty close decision either way. Yeah. So I think you'll expect to see a much longer fight.
It's going, I think, 48-47 someone. I'm leaning Zhang, but it could be Namajunas too. So I think the rematch, we see this one go the distance, and someone's coming away with it. But like I said, I'm leaning Zhang as well. But this card also, the main card, has not 1 but 2 fights that are just insane to me. Obviously, Michael Chandler, Justin Gaethje, the fight that I'm so happy that they made, that it's actually happening. This is, to me, the one fight I really wanted to see Chandler when he got signed to the UFC.
Right.
This one has the potential to be, well, Chandler can kind of switch it up from what we're expecting, but I really hope it doesn't. I just hope it's just insane, just car crash style, because Chandler can be in that, and Gaethje loves to be in that.
Yeah, I'm really excited for this one. I've been a huge Chandler fan for forever, and I'm a big fan of Gaethje. Yeah, this one's got violence written all over it. I would like to see Chandler win, but if I had to pick smart money, I think I'm going to pick Gaethje. I think I'm going to take Gaethje by knockout or TKO. Yeah, I think that'd be my pick. I think Chandler will kind of, explode early like he always does, and Gaethje will be in some trouble, but I think he'll end up finding the shot, and he'll finish it.
Yeah, the one thing about Gaethje, super durable, and Chandler's coming off getting knocked out by the well-known grappler, Charles Oliveira, for the title. And I think the only way you're going to finish a Justin Gaethje, I could be wrong, because, Chandler has the potential to do this, but is the way if you're fighting a guy like Khabib, who's just going to take you down and just maul you. And I don't think Chandler can. I think their wrestling just cancels each other out where they're at with Gaethje and Chandler. So that's what I'm expecting. Stays on the feet. It's just going to be wild, and why they made this fight in New York. I don't even think I'm going to make a prediction. I think I just want to sit back and enjoy this one because I just have a feeling it will live up to the fight of the year potential that this one has.
I don't even think it's going to go that long.
It doesn't have to go that long. I just think it's going to be great. For the action we get, it's going to be worth it.
Whether it's 10 minutes or if it's a minute and a half, it's going to be dynamite, I think. Yeah.
It's going to be like, you're a movie guy. It's like when I saw John Wick 1. It's short, but my God, it's just end-to-end action. You're not bored. You won't be bored in this one.
And you want another one.
And you want another one. You want 3, maybe 4.
There's 4.
So you'll get that. And then, the fight before that is also something for like the Violence Weight Championship in the featherweight division. Shane Burgos, Billy Quarantillo, 2 up-and-coming prospects that I think also have the potential to just throw down and scrap. I mean, Burgos is coming off that weird loss to Edson Barbosa, and Billy Quarantillo, man, this is a guy that's really, worked his way up to this opportunity. He got an insane finish back in July over Gabriel Benitez, but before that was on a 4-fight win streak before he lost a unanimous decision to Canadian Gavin Tucker. But I just think I don't think we've ever seen in a while 2 fights just booked back to back that just scream like amazing and just violence and just fun.
Yeah, that one's going to be good. You'll see a lot of like a boxing match almost in between those 2. Yeah, that's a good one, man. I'm going to go with Shane. I go with Shane. He's freakishly big too for that weight class. He's huge. Can take a beating and is so tough and durable and a very good striker. So it's always Quarantillo, but if I had to pick one, I'll go with Burgos.
If you'll go with Shane Burgos, I'm going to go with Billy Quarantillo. I think Billy's earned this opportunity. I think Billy's right now in a different mindset, having spent all this time in Florida, and he's being rewarded with his first pay-per-view. Burgos has been there. Something a little bit different about that. Plus, Billy Quarantillo grew up in Western New York, pretty much Canada, and a big Buffalo Bill fan. So I cannot turn my back on a fellow member of the Bills Mafia like Billy Quarantillo. But I think, honestly, that fight's just going to be awesome as well. There's 2 fights back-to-back that have the potential to be fight of the night.
Yeah, 100%.
On that card. I mean, when you look at this card, too, it's just kind of insane. Like Frankie Edgar, Marlon Vera, Bantamweight, that kicks things off. Real do-or-die fight for me at Frankie at 135.
Yeah. I mean, unfortunately, the way things went with Sandhagen, and he's had some ups and downs here and there. He is getting a little bit older, but he's still Frankie Edgar, man. He still has the possibility to be Frankie Edgar, and he has showcased that somewhat. I mean, obviously, the last one didn't get to showcase really anything, but yeah, we can't count Frankie out. He's a legend, and he's still the man.
He's fighting a guy in Chito Vera that's never afraid of anyone, not going to back down, but is on that weird win one, lose one, win one, lose one. He's won one in his last one. Does he continue the streak, and does Frankie, figure it out and finally get a win here at 135 again?
I'm going to go Frankie by decision.
I think so too. But you know what? I'm not also going to count out Marlon Vera because I think, much like him, he's the tone setter for the main card. And this is another big pay-per-view opportunity for the native of Colombia in Marlon Chito Vera. This card's just unbelievable, Josh. I mean, we got Alex Pereira, former Glory kickboxing fighter, the last guy to finish Israel Adesanya in kickboxing, making his UFC debut. And if you saw one of his MMA fights, his last MMA fight in the LFA where he knocked out the guy, I thought he killed him. Like, it was that kind of a violent of a knockout. And we have also Al Iaquinta, Bobby Green. That's going to be fun. We got Chris Curtis finally making his UFC debut, a guy that's been through the wars of the regional scenes, getting a shot in the PFL, but getting snubbed on the Contender Series, and finally gets a chance here in the UFC as he'll take on Phil Hawes on the prelims. I'm excited for that one. The debut of Ian Gary, very highly touted prospect, former champion in Cage Warriors at welterweight. And I mean, even when you look at the heavyweight fight, John Vellante, Chris Barnett, that's just going to be fun. I don't know if you know anything about Chris Barnett, but a big guy can break dance. And he's fought Russia. He's fought Canada. Yeah. The Beast Boy.
Right. Yes. Yeah. He's fun to watch. Yeah, for sure.
So honestly, this card, top to bottom, looks tremendous, and I
Yeah.
think it could be show of the year. Lots of great fights, and we'll be back next week, Josh, to break it all down.
Yeah, man. I'm pumped to watch this one, and I get to actually won't miss it this time, so I'll actually see the full thing. I'm pumped for that.
Last thing before we go, though, how's your training camp going, Josh? Obviously, now literally about a month away before your return to the Bellator cage.
Yeah, it's going good, man. I feel really good. I feel you can see it on my face,
Yeah,
all over the place. But I feel great. Yeah, I think I could fight this weekend if it was. I feel really good. Yeah.
it's a crazy weekend too. Obviously, we talked about UFC 268, but I mean Bellator, they got that show in Ireland there with the lightweight title on the line. I mean Patchy Mix, James Gallagher. I mean, there's so much good MMA on this weekend. I know Brave FC, they have a show with Jose Shorty Torres taking on Ali Bagatinov on that card. I mean, there's just great LFA as a card on Friday. There's just a lot of top quality MMA going on besides the UFC, and it's a big run for Bellator. Also, kind of ends here for November, but starts here in November with another couple shows before your fight and the year ends for them.
Yeah, they got this one, and then they got another one in November, and then mine in December. And I don't know if they have another one booked for December or not yet. I'm not sure, but
they haven't. I could see them maybe adding one, but I could also see them being like that. We'll see you in 2022.
Possibly, yeah. But yeah, regardless, it's a good little run here, especially going back to Ireland, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, exactly. But unfortunately for you, you get to see the glorious metropolis of Unkinsville, Connecticut again. Again. But Josh, thanks for going in a little bit of overtime with me today. We went a little bit longer, but there's just so much going on. We had to get it all in there. Couldn't not. Yeah, exactly. So before I let you go, Josh, obviously your Instagram at @gentlemanjhill, where you want to find good memes or good Halloween content that's on Josh's Instagram. And I don't know, will you transition to much Christmas stuff as we head to the holiday season?
I'll gear it up for the holidays for sure, but I never fully go away from the Halloween stuff.
Never. Okay. Well, maybe movie recommendations or anything like that as the Hollywood blockbuster season starting to get back in, especially with theaters opening and everything like that. Right. But for my broadcast partner, the gentleman Josh Hill, I'm Jason Hagholm. Peace out. We'll see you all next week.